And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our special edition product features class for all touchscreen models and anyone else who'd like to attend. I'll put up a little fun number here I got to start practicing and rehearsing for those times, those songs, for, the sounds of the season. It's already November 10th, so pretty soon we'll be playing a lot of those. So I figured I'll practice by playing a quick little ditty for you, okay? Here we go. Let's see what I can do here. And then we can check the sound out, make sure everything's working all right. Thank you, thank you. That's that's one of those songs that I always have to play a few times every year. I always, what's that chord? That chord? That chord? That was a great little opener there for you. I hope you enjoyed. And before we get started, if you haven't heard, you probably already have. We are going to do our very first virtual holiday music camp, and should have received a flyer somewhere on Facebook or in the email, what have you. The registrations are picking up very quickly. That's great to hear. But this is our very first time we're going to be doing this on December 1st and December 2nd. And I have to tell you what a value this is, because not only are you going to have the 6 best clinicians in the world, each one is going to not only teach a great special edition of holiday music and setups, and it really says it all in the description there. This virtual holiday music camp is a comprehensive educational event that will show you the special effects, styling, and registrations that will make your holiday music reflect the joy of the season. So you can learn from the comfort of your home. And some of our stores locally are going to be hosting watch parties. So somebody's maybe they're not really quite tech savvy, they don't like to do things online. If you happen to be near one of our locations, contact your local store and they can get you registered. You can still come into the store and watch it, and they're going to have it hooked up to the TV and a good sound system, what have you. And this is great for all skill levels. So the clinicians are all going to make sure they have something that's for smaller models, medium-sized models, big, and everything in between. But the cool thing about this is everyone that registers is going to receive a special recorded performance of holiday favorites from each of us. There's going to be about 2 or 3 songs recorded by each of us, and we're going to put it all on one USB, which you will receive about 10 days after, give or take, that it's done. And if you need to find out, if you need something to jog your memory, I'm going to have these recorded, but they will only be available to the people that register. There's going to be a special private link that you'll be able to go back and watch the classes as needed. So if you have any questions, call one of our stores. We can tell you more. If there's really any confusion, don't hesitate to call me, because I'm the one that got this all scheduled and what have you. So with that said, I want to jump into today's class here. And today's class was actually inspired by a student, and I've actually had, I would say, several students over time. And I just got to the point where, okay, enough people have asked, I better do this. We've done it at some point. I'm sure some of you get it in store. But sometimes it's a good reminder, hopefully. And if you know what you're doing, great. This will be just kind of a refresher. But I want to talk a little bit about saving presets on the organ and saving them to the USB. And I've got some even better news for you. I'm going to have 2 handouts when this class gets posted on our Patreon channel. I'm going to have 2 handouts that are going to have similar information with all the instruction on how to do it. And it's going to tell you what page in the owner's manual, for those of you who like to open up the owner's manual, it's going to tell you what page in the owner's manual to go to that explains what I'm talking about today. So I have it broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so about 7 different organ types. So you'll be able to find it, okay? So let's talk about presets. Why is saving presets and loading presets so important? Well, as an example, the song that I just played, I was sitting here, I was so focused on preparing the class, I said to myself, you know, I got to think of a song to open up with. I like to always open up with some music. And I was scrolling through my head, and I was like, I played this song, and I said, you know what? It's getting close to the holidays. So I put my USB in the instrument, and I scrolled through, and as I was scrolling through, I found one that said Swingin' Holiday, and I went, oh, I remember those setups that I did. Those were some setups for a couple great tunes that I played. That was one of them. And all I did is I put them in, and I looked in the screen, and I knew all the presets were and the sounds and what have you, and all I did was play the song and hit the preset as I did it. But another advantage is some of you, maybe you're not one that likes to make your own presets, but you have a personal assistant that will occasionally make some for you. Like, I get this a lot. Robert, I really like this song, and the song may be Unforgettable, or I love this song, Can't Help Falling in Love, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Can you give me some great setup ideas for the song? And let's face it, if I sit at an organ, or Joe or Joni or any of our team members sit at an organ, and they say, well, use that button, use that sound, use that feature, and they get it playing. And when you leave the store, you take that handwritten notes and you set it up on your organ. It's never 100% exactly the same. So the advantage of having the ability to do that is once they set it up on the organ, they can save it on your USB, and all you have to do is know how to load it in. And that's actually the easiest part. And then you just use the presets. So there are a lot of advantages. But some of you, we encourage saving presets. Let me do the easy part first. Loading presets, okay? Loading presets is extremely easy. If you want to load presets, you just need a USB that has something on it. And a lot of times we have stuff available at their stores or something we've customized for you. And this is the easy part. All you have to do is put the USB in. And I'm going to put this other one in. All right. And I think what I'll do is zoom the camera in a little bit. but is that legible there? I'm going to zoom in here, and is that okay? Can you see that? Does that make it any better or worse? Is that a little bit better? Anybody?
Robert, that's probably as good as you're going to get it.
Okay.
This is John from Hazelton.
All right. Okay. Get that. And okay. So let me do the loading part's really simple. If you have a USB that has already setups for a song, I happen to have the one for my song of the month because every month I just add to it. So all you have to do is on your instrument is touch USB. If you have a floppy disk, this works the same, only it's going to say disk, I believe, on the screen. Okay. But functionally, they work the same. You just touch USB. In this case, I'm going to touch USB, or if you have an SU series, that's a Royale, Royale, Stardust, Palladium, Grand Royale, Rhapsody, Sensation, Performer. I might have forgotten one in there, but that's a lot of them. And then right up in the top left corner, it says either load setups or load presets. Okay, and then I've got load, and then what happens on mine, because I have about 14 or 15 groups, give or take, and this is the order that I taught my Song of the Months, and I just find the one that I want to load in. So let's say I want to do What a Wonderful World. You just touch it. And most of the time, 99% of the time, most people just load all presets, okay? Most of us that save presets usually save for a song in a bank A or B or sometimes both. It's rare that we save 5 banks. Each one represents 10 or 11 presets, rather, okay? It's rare that someone will have 55 setups for one song. But in most cases, now there would be another class, I guess, or maybe a one-on-one instruction. But for the sake of this, for those who might be a little newer to doing this, when you get to the point where you select the song, let me go back, USB, load setups. Woo, that's lightning fast. Find the one, you use the scroll to find the one that you want to load. Now, just for those who are newer, I'm not loading a song to play. I'm loading setups to put into the organ so I can play the song. So I'm going to put Wonderful World. It says, do you want to load all, cancel, or specific bank? I'm going to just touch all, and it says all setups loaded. All right. Now, having said that, let me zoom back out here. Now, most music, when someone has a song that they've done some presets for you or customized it for you, most of the time we number it. So, a lot of times in my music, like many of us, we'll push A1 and 2 and 3, and as you go, you would push the number on the song where it tells you to load it. But once you have those customized presets and you get in the habit of doing that, it's kind of a blessing because then you'll get to play in the style that you play, but you'll sound as great as the artist and the clinicians do when we teach. So in this case, I loaded the bank presets, and I know on bank A it has it, or B in my case. I know that I have 2 versions of it. And then I put on custom 4 in most organs. Some of you have custom 3, some of you have custom 2. It's the feature that pulls up the screen, the setup information. It tells you what the presets are. So I have them labeled. And then I know as I'm playing what sounds I'm going to get before I play it. So that's it. Once you do that once, twice, 3 times a lady. I'm sorry. Once you do it a few times, you get in the habit of doing it, Then all you have to do is play the song. Play the whole song, but you get the idea. So this song, when I did setups for it, I have 5 setups that I know how I label them. Now, and on the music, we would put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So all you have to do to sum it up is load the setups. If you had someone help you, mark your music. Once you load it in, you would, most cases, push A or B, 1, 2, 3, and then you push the preset as you go through the song. Okay? So, before I go any further, are there any questions about that? All
Yes,
right.
Rob,
Yes.
I have a question. Okay, so when you say you press load all, that means you're loading all the presets in that particular wonderful world, correct?
Yes.
Not all the presets on everything that you have.
Yes. Now, let me clarify a little bit. So, one USB, okay? And it doesn't matter the size of the USB. I know you've heard this before. So we always say, and the Lowrey organs traditionally have been known to, we always say, get the smallest one you can get, 2 gig, 1 gig, half a gig. I've been lucky and I've been finding some 512 megabyte sticks or half gig sticks. All right, because the Lowrey format doesn't allow you to put more than 250 groups or 250 songs on a USB, no matter how large the stick is. But wait a second, I got a 1 terabyte stick. Doesn't matter. It's programmed so it limits you at 250. Now, having said that, each stick holds up to 250 groups of presets. Okay? What that means is, what I typically do, and a lot of us do, is when I make presets for a song, I can literally make up to, if I want, 11 setups per bank. Bank A, B, C, D, E. So that's how many? 55, right? So theoretically, I can make up to 55 presets on one bank or on one group. So on the USB, it'd be one group has 55 presets if you really want that. And it's going to happen automatically anyway. However, I traditionally don't do that. Most of us might take a song like the one I just mentioned. And in this case, I have only 5 setups for What a Wonderful World. I don't need more than that because of the length of the song, and I repeat. If I do 20 setups, that might be a little overkill. Too many changes for a song. So I saved 5 presets. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I also did B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a different version of it. So technically there's 10, right? And I saved that entire group onto the USB in one group. Okay? So that's one group. Now when I go to load them, I load them in, and all I did was push all. That was a long answer for your question, but did that answer the question?
Robert,
Yes, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Someone else?
how many groups can you put on a stick? Of,
250. 250.
and each group, it could be genre
It could be
or
whatever
per
you
song.
want. You could be whatever you want. You could put up to. Here's the part that might sound a little confusing, but I hope it doesn't. even though I save 10 presets, okay, if I save A1 through 10, which we're going to get into saving presets here in a minute, when I save those 10 presets onto, say, slot number 1, you're not saving 10 presets, you're actually saving 55 presets. And people go, wait a second, you said you only save 10. Well, whenever you save a group of presets, you're saving whatever is on A, B, C, D, and E at that time, okay, onto one slot. Even though 10 of them are the ones that I'm saving, okay? So it's always going to save that. You never utilize the entire group. You never use everything on the instrument. Some people may try, but you may be at it for quite a while trying to do it that way. So, to reiterate, into the answer to the question is, one USB, no matter how big the size, can save up to 250 groups. Each group will always contain up to 55 setups. Okay? You may not save 55 setups in one group. You may only save 5. You may sometimes I come up with one setup for a song that I really like, and guess what? That's the only preset I saved, and I'll use it on one group just because. Okay? So you're never going to maximize all of the space on the instrument, on the USB as well. Any other questions? All right, now let's talk about, I want to save my own setups because, you know, Robert, my teacher, Joe Fontesh, has been encouraging me to make setups on my own and experiment. And Don's been suggesting, I know Don does a lot of that actually in a lot of her classes. She'll reorganize her presets and save them in places, okay? Because let's face it, if I use, someone give me a rhythm category, any category.
Rock.
All right, so let me go to the rock category. Now, under my rock button, I have 8B rock, Smoky Water, Motown, Rockabilly, Soft Texas, Texas Blues, a go-go. I'll just keep it on a go-go. Doesn't matter, okay? And I'm going to go rhythm preset, and the presets that are in there are great. But sometimes when you're playing a song, you may take what's already there and make some changes to it. You may go, you know, let's see, I like... And I go, I don't like that. I'm going to just experiment. Ooh, now I actually like that sound. It's a pretty... I go, oh, you know, I like that, you know, and I might say, well, maybe I'll put some chord organ sound on the lower, whatever. You like the sound, and you bounce around using the setups, or maybe you just start pushing buttons and you go, you know, I like that. Well, the minute you start making a change or two, or maybe 3, now you have to do what? Remember it or save it on the organ so you don't have to lose what you save. All right, and that's where we're going to get into this part of the class. This is the part that takes a little bit more repetition sometimes, and I have instructions. So I want everybody to repeat after me, whether I can hear you or not, or you can say it to yourself. Memorize, letter, number. Let's start with that. Memorize, letter, and a number. And I'll tell you, I heard Jerome a few months ago, he was teaching the class. He'd say, I came in walking in one day and I heard, memorize A1, memorize A2. Once you have, here's the beauty. This happens to everybody. You experiment and you find a sound and you go, oh, I don't know if I quite like that. Does it ever happen to you? Only a couple people are nodding their head. That means everybody else is better than us. No. And the same thing happens in the opposite. Sometimes we experiment and you find a sound and you go, oh, I like that. Like when I was playing that preset, I don't think I've ever played that preset. And you kind of saw my reaction. Oh, I like that. And I stopped there and I might want to experiment or save it. Okay? Even if it's something that's already built in, or if you're doing it manually, there's nothing wrong with saving it. The idea of saving it is so that you have it whenever you need it, and you don't have to remember, oh, let's see, what rhythm did I push? You have it saved on the preset. So, here's how we do this. Let me zoom in on again, get as close as I can, and then you will be able to. And this will work, as I said in the email, this will work on virtually everybody who has a touchscreen model. This process is, I think, 99.99% the same. So I have a setup right now, and I want to save it to the organ. Now, I'm going to say this right now, because I know someone's thinking it. We're going to want the setups on the organ eventually on the USB. But it has to go on the it has to be saved here first. Okay? And I say that because that question I've had over the years, I have that question. And it seems simple enough, but when you're new to doing this, this is the way we think. Do I have to do this first or that? Okay? So remember this. When you want to save settings and put them onto the USB, you have to save them on the organ first. All right? So I've got a setup that I like. I'm going to push memorize, a letter, and for starters, I'm just going to push A. That's what most people do. All right? Now, I don't know if you could see it on the screen there, but something popped up. It says memorizing to A, and it has a number 0 in this case. It defaults to 0. You can save it on 0 if your organ says so. I tend to go to number 1 first before I go on. I usually save 0 as like a backup. Okay? And then I'll push 1. So, like I said earlier, memorize a letter, A, B, C, D, or E, and then a number. Now, before I go any further, there is 2 options. Now, I don't know if you could see it in there, but I'll tell you what it says. It says with a style or with transpose. Now, some of you may actually have, and I'm going to look it up. Some of you, when you do that, it may actually say the word rhythm. Give me a second here. It says with style. I think the SU series, you can quote, I may be wrong, but I think the SU series says rhythm, with rhythm, but I could be wrong on that. So I have memorize A, I push the number that I want to save it on, and then my next choice is, do I want to save it with a style or do I want to save it with the transpose? Okay? Now, transpose is easy because, to explain, because some people, like when I played the song Phantom of the Opera, my preset, first preset, always jumps down to E flat for that particular setup. And I think it's E flat. And this is the point I'm making. I know when I originally came up with those setups, I transposed it down like 8 or 9 half steps to get the sound that I like, the tone, the real low tone. And I saved it on my very first setup a specific way with a specific transpose. Okay? So in that case, saving it with a transpose was very important. If you're playing a song and you're not consistently playing in the same key all the time, to me, I don't think transpose is that important. If you find yourself playing a song and sometimes you transpose it down to B flat or you put it in B or A or transpose it up, unless it's specifically like, oh, I love it in this key every time I start off with, that's where you want to save it to transpose. Okay? So in most of the cases, my presets, I only save the first setup in the key that I want it. Now style, with style is very important, and here's what you need to understand. With style means it will not only save the rhythm style that you have selected, but it saves everything else that's associated with it. Like right now I have basic, the orchestra plus is off, the alter style is off. It'll save the tempo. It'll save the balances of all of the, everything coinciding with the style. It saves quite a bit. It basically saves this panel the way it's set. Okay? So in this case, I like the way this is sounding with that rhythm at that tempo and the way this background is. So I want to save the preset with a style. Before I go further, let me repeat. Now, some of you may know the artist by the name of Paul Schaub, Lowrey, artist. He used to have a thing I heard him say many times over the years. We learn by repetition. So, set up the organ the way you like it. If you got a sound that you like, you press memorize a letter, in this case A, B, C, D, or E, a number, and then you decide if you want to save the transpose or not, and then save it with a style or not a style. Okay? I specifically like this setup with a style, so I'm leaving it there. Okay? The last thing you have to do is confirm it. And here's how you confirm it. You press memorize. And it'll say memorize to preset or memorize to setup A1 in this case. Okay? So, same thing. You make some changes. I'm just pushing buttons just for the sake of it. Okay, so I just made a few changes there. So first thing I do is I press memorize. I'm going to go to the next preset. I saved it on A1, so what comes next, folks? A2. A2, so I'm going to push A. I'm going to push number 2. Memorize a letter, A, and a number, 2. I don't want to save the transpose. I'm going to save it with the style, though. But did you notice I was pushing alter style, and I was messing around with the auto basses here and things like that? I was just experimenting. Okay? So I have it A2, and then I confirm it by pushing
Memorize.
memorize. Now it's memorized to A2. Now, I have a little something here for you. Can you all see that okay? Let me see if I can get the, oh, where'd it go on my computer? Let me put it full screen here. How's that? All right. I'll do another preset. I'll make some changes. Who cares what the changes are? That's not the point here. The point is learning how to save it. So let me just push some stuff as I go here. Okay, I like that sound. First one I'm going to push is memorize. Now, I've been doing everything on A. Okay? You'll see the example there. They have B, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. You choose, and you can put it wherever you want. You don't have to go in order. You may say to yourself, I don't want it that way. I want that set up to be on number 1, and I want that one to be on number 3. That's okay. So I'm going to push memorize, A, 3. And I like the setup that I chose with the, I changed some backgrounds. I went auto bass. I put drum variation, alter. I forget what I was doing. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to forget because I'm going to put it in the presets. So I memorize A, number 3, and the screen says, so I'm going to put with style, and then I confirm it by pressing memorize. Etc., 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 etc. Okay?
Robert,
Yes.
When you choose your song and you choose A1, do you go up to your music and put in an indication of A1 where you want to push A1?
Okay, say the question again just to make sure I understand it correctly.
Okay, we have a piece of music and we're going to play the music. So I usually take and do the intro and the ending. So I would then use that as my preset A1. When I first start the song, do I write A1 above that first section, the first measure?
That's what I would do, yes.
Okay, and then you can, what if you don't, what if you go to an F chord or a G chord and you're happy with that? Then you want to change, say you want to change and add a piano later on in the game, like at the bridge. Is that where you would put A2 if that's your
If that's
piano?
where you save the setup, then yes. So as an
Okay.
example,
But you put it in the measure that you want to do the change.
well, that just depends. Sometimes I put it, I'll make some changes. Well, here's an example. Let me pull up this. Let's see if I got it on here. All right. Let me pull up this one here. All right. You see the music there?
Yes?
All right. So here's the song that I did where I got A1, 2, 3. So you can see I'm all over the place, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it really depends on what you need to do with the music. Sometimes I have a sound that I like. I want that sound before I play the next note. So I may be going from a saxophone to a flute. Okay? But I may want the flute sound on the next preset coming from the saxophone. So I may be holding the saxophone. I may change that preset before I get to the next sound. So the point is, there's no right or wrong way where you want to put the presets. You put them where you feel it's necessary to make the change of the sound the way you want it. So it doesn't have to be on a chord. It doesn't have to be on a downbeat or upbeat. You may do it on the third beat, however you want. Now what I'm going to do is load in the presets for that song there that you see on the screen. And what you'll notice is, you see where it says 8VA. I'm on that page. Hold fill.
Yes.
All right. So on preset number 5, you'll see it says A5, 6, and 7. When I taught this class, what happened was when I got to the 7th setup, which was here, I wanted a specific sound. I wanted this to sound a certain way when I started playing that note. Okay? So it was, I'll take it from right here. Okay? I'm going to go on the 4th preset. I'm going to play the notes here. And I'm going to keep playing here. All right? It's been a while since I played this. Let me remember. Make sure. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to keep playing the notes, and then when I get to here, see, I go from the 4th setup to the 7th setup, but I didn't want to just jump, so what I did was this. I'll let you hear it first, and then I'll put the camera on me. I got to try to do this sideways here. Okay, so that's my sound on A4. When I get to number A7 down there, you see that? See where I kind of put it before that? That sound, I want it to sound like this. So I had to come up with a way to do a smooth transition. So what I did in this setup here when I taught the class is I had my fourth set up here, and when I got to here, I said, hold your fill in, and while you're holding the note, I'm going to press 5, and then I'm going to press 6, and then I'm going to press 7. And then when I get to number 7, then I'll continue. Okay? So, like this. Now, I don't know if you could see it on that little screen there, but now I'm going to show you to where you could see it like this. Fill in. So the point is this. I labeled the presets, I programmed the presets, and I label them however I felt. There is no, it has to be on a certain measure and a certain, you can, I have one preset that all its purpose was to transpose up. But did you notice as I was holding the note in this example, all I had to do is go from 5, 6, 7. That was a lot easier than me going around looking for the transpose. So in that example there, I programmed the presets to work for me, not based on, well, maybe you should change the sound here and you have to do it on this measure and that chord. It doesn't matter. And I label them accordingly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the long answer, and the reason why I'm saying it this way is because I want you to remember this. When you're saving presets, your own setups, you could save them however you want, wherever you want on your music. There is no, well, I got to do a lot of changes to save a preset. You don't. Sometimes I have one preset. I'll go from one to the other. And the only thing that I've changed was I added strings to it. Now, some of you know this because in my Song of the Months, I'll go, you ready for this? All I did was add strings. Sometimes it's just one little change. Why do you save it on a preset? Why? So when I'm playing my music, all I have to do is go in the order of the numbers that I number on my music. It's a lot easier to play music and go like this. 1, play, 2, play, 3, right? Instead of trying to remember rhythm preset 1, and then you got rhythm preset 5, and you got in rhythm preset. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times I like to put them in order. Okay? But the other purpose of saving presets is sometimes it's not just a matter of coming up with a bunch of setups for a song. It's like I said earlier, we encourage experimenting. And while you're experimenting, you run into a lot of sounds that you may not like. But you also run into sounds you go, oh, my gosh, I like that. And the last thing you want to do is lose it. Because if you don't save it, and you turn off the organ, guess what happens? Unless you remember everything you did, and I can tell you, it's happened many times where I was just experimenting. This is the worst. Jerome's not here today, so I'll have to tell him. I do it to Jerome and he does it to me, but we don't do it intentionally. Sometimes we remember now. And I'll have it all set up. The phone will ring. Hey, Robert, so-and-so's on the phone. I leave. And he comes back and he starts playing because we're getting ready for a concert. And guess what he does? He puts his own setup in there. And guess what happened to mine? Gone. Had I saved it before I did that, then it's saved.
Okay,
in
the
order.
question then would be, when you save to the, then would you be saving it to the stick for the next time you want to play it.
Yes, but we're not to the stick yet.
Oh, okay, but that's
We're
what
still
you're
right
gonna do.
now.
All right, the
Everything that I was
question-
showing you was get it on the organ.
Okay, once you got it on the organ, is there a way of maybe a description of what it is?
Yes, you can do that. We're getting to that.
Okay.
All right. So, just a real short recap. You have a sound you like, and you come up and you're going to want to lose it. Memorize A1. Memorize A2, etc., etc. Okay? Now, there is a function that you can do now. For example, on these presets, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll tell you, it says swell vocals, mellow solo. You know, I know what sounds I put in there. Sometimes I'll label it guitar, saxophone. I'll label them a certain way. You could actually go in and name each of these if you want. Okay? There's a feature on the organ. You touch feature, and you go to an option called rename bank setup. Okay? So if you save a setup on one, and it's a saxophone or a certain sound, and you want to label it a certain way, you can go to this rename, and you could actually choose the bank that you want to rename, and then you can actually change the wording of that. Okay? That's on the organ. Now, the next task is this. And I got some setups. I got some instructions for that as well. So I've got some setups on the organ. Doesn't matter what they are, okay? I got some setups. I want to get it from here to here. Because if it's on here, then you're less likely to lose it than if it's on here. Because, you know, let's face it, these are computers, and sometimes we have to reset them, right? And when we do that, these things go away. So all you have to do is put in the USB, and I'm going to put this up on the screen, and I'm going to do it as I say it. Here we go. Now these are my instructions here. Can you see that okay? So you'll notice this is what I said earlier. Press memorize a bank letter, a number, and it tells you save with or without a style, with or transpose, and then memorize. All right, we did that. Now you want to take what's on the organ. Whoops. And we want to take from whatever's on the organ, save it onto the USB. And it says it right there. I even put in the step, and you may think, boy, that's so elementary. That's a no-brainer. Well, I've had people call me saying I'm trying to save it on the USB, and they realize they forgot to put the USB in. So I've got the USB in. Step 2, it says press USB on the screen like we did earlier. Now, if you have a floppy disk drive, it's the same thing, just you're going to press disk instead. So now, step 3 says save presets. Okay? Or on the E series, it'll say setups. Okay? Same thing. Now you got to make sure, I'm going to tell everybody this now, you know, our fingers are all different. Some people have big fingers. Some people use a pencil eraser. Because sometimes I'll accidentally hit the wrong one, and I realize I'm loading setups instead of saving. So when you touch Save Setups or Save Presets, make sure that it says Save Setups on the screen, if that's what you're doing, okay? Or Save Presets, depending on the model. So if you're saving presets or setups from the organ to the USB, and you're at the step, before you go any further, just make sure it says save. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to go back and forth here so you can see the instruction. And then you can see me doing it. It says scroll to a blank spot on the screen and select it. And then you can title or name it or leave the default title that it provides, and then you press save. Okay? So you're going to use your scroll. Now can you see that? I don't know if you can see the words on there, but you could see that there's some. Oh wait, let me zoom in. Sorry. All right. I don't know if you can see the words on there, but you can see there's something in there. It says Besame Mucho, Wonderful World, Ice Castles, New York. I said scroll to a blank spot. Don't Be Cruel, Somewhere Out There, Phantom of the Opera, Can't Help Falling in Love. What Child Is This? The Circle of Life. There's no blank spot yet. Oh, Anniversary Song, Cabaret, God Bless the USA, and then 16 is blank. Okay? So the instruction said scroll until you get a blank spot on the USB. If it's a new USB, obviously the first one, second one. And then you touch it. And before you do anything else, just look on the screen and make sure it's the one that you touched. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is go back. What I'm looking at is number 16 is blank. That means there's nothing there in that spot. That's where I want to save it. You don't have to. You can save it somewhere else if you want. Doesn't matter. Wherever you want to. Okay? And when I touch it, before you go to the next step, just confirm to yourself that you selected the right one. Remember, these fingers, sometimes weather changes. Your fingers are hot, and your fingers get close, you touch one thing. You know, nothing's 100% perfect. So right now it says 16. That's the one I chose. But if you can see it on the screen there, you'll notice it gave it a title already. If it's blank and you select it, it automatically puts a title in there for you. And it'll say Setup Group 16, or on the A and the SU series, it'll say Preset Group, whatever number. It always defaults to a title of some sort. It puts a title in there. Now, if you don't like that title, you can change it. You can change it now, you can change it later. Okay? Now, right now, I'm going to change it. All right? Now, with the exception of the Aria owners, everyone has the ability to change it, and then each letter can be changed. Now, let's say I want to name it, I'll just call it test, since that's what we're doing. We're doing a test or example, okay? You have uppercase, lowercase. You could touch upper in this case. No pun intended. Okay? And then you scroll to the letters. I don't know how well you can see that. But I'm on the first letter. And I'm scrolling to the letter I want, T. And then if I want to go to the next one over, there's an arrow. Don't use the space bar. It's not like a typewriter. You know, typewriter, you hit the space bar and it goes next. Just hit the next arrow over. Okay? It happens to already be on the letter E, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go to the next one over. T. I need to go down to S. I'm going to put lowercase on. And then I'm going to go over. And then the next one is U. And I want to get to the letter T. And I'm going to leave it there for now. Okay? Intentionally. Now, if I've got it the way I want it for now, right now it says Test P Group 16. It's not the way I want it, but I'm going to do it that way for a reason, okay? And before you go any further, you just got to know that, okay, that's the group I want to save it on. That's the way I want it. And then at the bottom of your screen, there's a little thing that says save. And when you hit save, it'll say setup saved or preset saved. Okay? Now, I intentionally left it the way it was worded because what if I accidentally typed it away, or what if, you know what, I want to title it a different way. Okay? Same thing. Touch USB, and one of the options that comes up is rename presets or rename setups. Okay? And I say it that way because if you have an A series model or an SU series model, it's going to say presets. If you have an E, X, or EY, it's going to say setups. Okay? So I want to rename it. So I press rename. It's accessing the USB. I'm going to scroll. What number? Do you remember what number it was?
16.
16. So I'm going to go up to number 16. There it is. Test P group 16. I don't like the way that's titled. So I'm going to touch the one that I want to rename. And then I'm going to arrow over and change it to whatever you want. Now I'm going to go to that letter P, and I want to eliminate that, so I'm going to hit space. Now, Aria owners, I know there's a few of you on. You have the QWERTY keyboard that works like a typewriter, so that'd be the exception to the rule. Just use it like you would on a typewriter. Now, I can keep going further. I don't want group. I would just want it to say test. So I'm going to hit space, arrow over, space, and it puts in a space in there. See, I'm just going one at a time. Now I've got it the way I want it. It says test. That's all I want it to say. Then you confirm it, and on the bottom right, it'll say rename, and you just touch rename. And then it says setups renamed. Okay? Now, here is the best way to learn to do what I taught you today. Get a USB. All right? Get one that works. Right, Mike? Right, everyone? I've had so many phone calls on USBs. They're a pain in the butt. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Robert, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When you take a new USB, I noticed on the screen there was something like format the USB.
All right,
Do you
let
need
me
to do that one time?
let me address the format. I've never formatted a USB on an organ. No, I wouldn't say that. I have done it, but every time I get a new USB, I never format it.
Someone had said that it was necessary for the specific Lowrey organ that you're playing on.
I'm going to tell you, it's rare that I format it.
Okay. Do you stick it in a different kind of organ?
No, you can, but when you format, when you take a USB and you put it in there, the minute you save something onto that USB, guess what it did? It automatically formats it for that USB.
For that organ.
It automatically, it doesn't matter. If I take a brand new USB and I put it in this organ and I save some setups on here, and I go to the Sterling over here and I do the same thing, guess what? It just automatically works.
Cool.
Assuming you have a USB that's a good USB stick. Okay. Sometimes they give you device errors and sometimes they give you these. And so, you know, it's unfortunate that they're hit and miss. I've had some luck with some USBs that I've purchased, and I've had some that I bought and 3 out of 5 didn't work. It didn't matter what you did, formatting, doing nothing. Okay. So here's my encouragement. Get a USB and say to yourself, no matter what I save on this USB, it doesn't matter. Use it as your experimental USB. And the point is, don't get caught up on coming up with great setups. Now today, I was just pushing buttons and saving stuff. You know, I like some of the setups, but I was just doing stuff. The reason is I wanted to just show you how to use it. Okay? I didn't get caught up on, boy, I got to make sure this first setup that I showed my students sounds great. I didn't care. It didn't matter. What I cared about was making sure that the instruction that came across made sense, and you'll have some handouts. And that's what you should do. Is if you're new at this, take a USB and just say, okay, I'm going to use the, it doesn't matter if I lose stuff, delete stuff, don't get caught up on. Now, if you have one that you come up with some setups on and you really like it and you want to continue experimenting, put it aside and use the one for the experiment. All right? Just grab a USB and just experiment and get in the habit of just using it.
Don't talk.
So that way you condition yourself, you get comfortable with it. The other thing I would suggest is go back and keep this video, this link, once it gets posted, on hand. The instructions that I give on saving presets and then loading them to the USB. And then just go through the motions of doing it. And then when you get caught into a position where like something, and then you want to load them back, if something's not working, that's when you contact a personal assistant and say, okay, here's what I did. Because I'm going to tell you, every time I have a student that does that, inevitably someone comes back and they go, okay, here's what I did. I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did that, but then I couldn't get them back, and then I find out there was maybe one step, and it was like the light bulb goes off. But doing that, going through that process, just makes it easier. And again, I've had some students accidentally delete stuff off their USB because they went and saved it, and they didn't save it on a blank spot. They saved it over something else. And then I found out that that's what happened. Well, guess what? If you're experimenting with a USB that you don't care what happens, if it deletes or not, that's okay. That's part of the learning process.
Robert, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This is John from Hazleton.
Yeah.
All right, I got the Marquee.
Uh-huh.
Now, say what I like. Sometimes it's a pain. It's like where you're trying to rename the style you just saved. Is it possible to take that USB stick out and put it into a computer or rename it on a computer? Will the organ recognize that then, or no?
Okay. No.
No. Okay.
There is a way to rename it on a computer, but it's not like the way you would think you and I would. So
Okay.
on a computer, if you notice on a computer, I don't think I can pull it up on my screen.
And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to,
Yeah, on a computer, you know, if you have like a PDF, it may say Robert's class .pdf. Okay, on a computer, the format on the computer, if I have it labeled here as Can't Help Falling in Love on preset group number 5, when you put it in the computer, it won't say that. It'll say EP set 5. The language is the way it comes across in the computer are two different things. So I've had some people go, well, I'm going to retitle it Can't Help Falling in Love. And guess what happens? The minute you do that, it doesn't get recognized on the organ anymore. You can change the number. That's a whole nother procedure. You can change the number, but you can't change the format. And you have to be very consistent on the format. So, as an example, if it says EP set 005, you cannot change that to say can't help. You can change EP set 006. You can change the number, but all that's going to do is move it into a different number. When it goes back in here, it'll recognize it. But the minute you start changing the way it's formatted in the computer, it doesn't get recognized anymore. So
Okay, thank you.
It's not like what most people would do on a computer. I got to rename this document. I got to rename. It doesn't work that way. Okay? Any other questions? All right, so in a few days, this class will be posted on our Patreon. I will have both of these handouts They're really relatively the same, but this one here, oh, by the way, this handout you may like. I'll leave it up on the screen here for a minute. If you want to write it down. So this handout will tell you what pages in your owner's manual. If you want to know, now, folks, I chose all the manuals I had in my available to me at the time. So if you have an Aria and you're looking up in your full guide, go to page 53 to 59. I'm going to guess that the Marquee and the Grand Marquee are in their similar page numbers. I don't think I had one at the time, so I couldn't find it. Liberty is page 37 through 42. Rialto, for those of you who have the Rialto, 35 to 40. I'm going to guess that the Inspire is the same as the Rialto because they're very similar. And then Symphony, Patriot, Sterling has 21 and 22, and then 37 to 39. You want to write those? They're two different sections of the manual. I think one is on loading, one is on saving, and one is on loading. I can't remember quite exactly. I'm just going to do a quick search on my computer and see if the Marquee, if I have the Marquee owner's manuals, EX, Marquee guide. What page did I say for the Aria? 53 to 59. Prestige owners 20 to 21, and Royale 14 to 15, and then 140 and 142. So my guess is if you have a Stardust or Grand Royale, it's going to be similar. I think when I did this, I did it based on the students that I had in class at the time with those models. So I'm trying to remember back when I did it. 53 to 49. Let me see here. Page 53. I'm going to 53 in the Marquee to see. Actually, I just looked it up in the Marquee. On the Marquee, I went to page 43, it looks like. And it talks about saving presets. Page 43. And if I have time to go through most of the manuals, I'll go and verify that and update that and put it up there. But I believe most of them are going to be relatively close to the same. But the Marquee starts at 43. So Grand Marquee and the Marquee, write that down, 43 in the owner's manual when you get to it. Okay? All right. I think I'll close off with a song now. After all of this brain power that I had to use to explain, sometimes I got to relax myself by playing some music for you. Is that okay? I'm going to do, since I'm in the mood for some holiday music. By the way, one of the things that I did, I gave you a little sneak peek of what's part of my program on the holiday music camp that we're going to be doing. By the way, not only is the clinicians going to be teaching stuff, but they're going to perform some music at each of those things too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I thought, since it's the time of the year around the corner, I got to rehearse a little bit. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to load my presets. I'm going to find what I want. Okay, presets loaded. And then I'm going to do the Drifters version of White Christmas. All right. And by the way, this preset went to A flat because the recording that I heard when I started to learn it, I matched it up to the Drifters version that they sing it in. So I don't know if they did that on purpose or. And we'll keep it real simple here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's class and you had some take-home value, learned something new. Some of you maybe already know how to do all of this, but it's always good to, like I said, we learn by repetition. And just another blurb on our virtual holiday music camp coming up. We have quite a few contacts set up, so don't miss out. You know, I was kind of thinking, you know, if all of the artists just made a CD and we just sold it, that's worth the price of admission. So not only will you get that, all of the recorded, plus all the materials you'll be getting as well. But it's going to be a fun event. So don't miss out. It will not be available on anywhere except for those who register. So it will not be on Patreon. It won't be on YouTube. It won't be on Facebook. It won't be anywhere. So if it's something that you're interested in, this is going to be a very, very, very special, exclusive event. And what better way to kick off the holidays, December 1st, December 2nd, with some of the best in the nation. So that's all I have for you. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Stay safe, please, out there in Florida. Please stay safe. Keep playing music, and mwah.
Thank you,
Thank
Robert.
you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Hope you learned something today.
Thank you,
All right.
Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Nice to
Good
see you,
job.
Robert.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.